So today, we're going to dive into one of Jesus's most powerful and pointed stories, told just days before his crucifixion. It's a parable that's part prophecy, part indictment, and, ultimately it's a story of this stunning victory hidden inside but looks like a total tragedy. It starts out looking like a story about a simple vineyard, but it ends with a full-blown death plot.
I mean, it's a pretty sharp question, right? On the surface, you've got a simple story about a vineyard and some farmers. But deep down, this story was a direct confrontation that pushed Jesus' enemies right to their breaking point. See, this parable, it wasn't just a nice little story. No, it was a catalyst.
Okay, so to really get this story, you have to feel the tension in the air. We're in Jerusalem, smack dab in the middle of Passion Week. And get this, most scholars think this all went down on a Tuesday, just 3 days before the crucifixion. Jesus is teaching in the temple courts, and the entire religious establishment is just furious with him.
So the chief priests, the scribes, the elders, they march up to him and throw this question in his face. And let's be clear, this wasn't some honest question. It was a trap, plain and simple. They were challenging his very right to be there, to teach, to do anything at all. They wanted to shut him down publicly.
But instead of walking right into their verbal trap, Jesus does something just brilliant. He completely sidesteps their question and answers them with a parable. A story so simple on the surface, but with a hidden meaning so sharp, it would actually force them to condemn themselves. Genius, right? All right, so Jesus begins the story, and he paints this picture that everyone listening would have known instantly. He's actually pulling imagery from the prophet Isaiah. And it doesn't start with conflict. It starts with incredible generosity. He talks about this landowner who just spares no expense. I mean, he plants this incredible vineyard, builds a wall around it for protection, digs a wine press, even puts up a watchtower for security. He literally gives them everything they need to be successful before he leases it out and goes on a trip. And you gotta understand, this was a totally standard deal back then. Not unfair at all. It was a common business practice. The tenants get this fully loaded, ready-to-go vineyard. All the owner asks for is his fair share of the crop. That's it. A totally legitimate, everyday business deal. But this is where the story takes a really dark turn. The tenants completely refuse to pay up. When the first servant shows up, they beat him and send him away with nothing. So the owner, showing some amazing patience, sends another one. They wound him. He sends more. And they get shamed, beaten, some are even killed. This is way beyond a business dispute now. This is a full-on, violent, escalating rebellion. So, after all his messengers have been rejected, the owner makes this one last, absolutely heartbreaking attempt. He thinks to himself, surely they will respect my son. This isn't just another employee. This is his own son, his heir. You can just feel the weight of this moment. The stakes could not possibly be higher. But the tenants, they don't see an act of grace. They see an opportunity. Their greed just completely takes over. And they get this crazy idea in their heads that if they just get rid of the heir, the vineyard will be theirs for the taking. So they drag him out and they kill him. Now, everyone listening, especially those religious leaders, they were not confused. They knew he wasn't really talking about farming. Parables were all about revealing deeper spiritual truths, and this one was like a giant mirror being held right up to their faces. And this is where the code gets unlocked. It's so clear. The landowner, that's God the Father. The vineyard he planted with so much love, that's the nation of Israel. And the tenants, the ones supposed to be taking care of it, yep, the religious leaders standing right there. The servants were all the prophets God sent over the centuries, the ones who were beaten, rejected, and killed. And that beloved son, well, that was Jesus himself. And make no mistake about it, the chief priests and the Pharisees, they got it. They absolutely knew he was talking about them. In front of everybody, Jesus was publicly accusing them of not just failing to care for God's people, but of being the latest in a long line of people who rejected and even murdered God's messengers. You can imagine their anger just went through the roof. But just when they think the story is over, Jesus pivots. He does this incredible switch up, changing the whole metaphor from a vineyard to a construction site. And this is where he delivers the final, absolutely stunning twist. He pulls out a quote from Psalm 118, a messianic prophecy that they would have known by heart. They'd even heard it just a few days earlier when he rode into Jerusalem. The message is unmistakable. The very son they're about to kill, the one they cast aside, He's going to become the most important piece of God's entire plan.
Okay, to really feel the power of this, you have to know what a cornerstone is. It's not just some random rock. It's the foundational stone. It's the one that every other stone in the building is aligned to. Literally, the entire structure depends on it for its strength and its very shape.
And here's the brilliant reversal. The builders, the religious leaders, they took a look at Jesus, the stone, and decided, nope, he doesn't fit our plans. So they threw him out. But God takes that very same rejected stone and makes him the foundation of his entire new plan for the world.
And that's the beautiful, stunning paradox at the very heart of this story. The crucifixion looked like the ultimate defeat, right? The ultimate rejection. But that was the very thing God used to bring about his greatest victory. The rejected son becomes the exalted cornerstone, the foundation for a whole new community of faith. So you see, this isn't just some ancient story aimed at a bunch of religious leaders from 2,000 years ago. Like all of Jesus' parables, it kind of echoes through time and lands right here, at our feet, asking us to take a good, hard look at our own lives. So why does this matter to us today? Well, the takeaways are pretty profound. First, it shows us God is incredibly generous and patient, but that patience isn't endless. Second, it really challenges us to see everything in our lives as a gift we're taking care of, not something we own. And maybe most importantly, it gives us this incredible hope, showing us that God's specialty is turning what the world calls a defeat into the biggest victory imaginable. And that really brings us to the heart of it all. The parable just forces us to choose. Every single day, we're faced with the exact same choice as those tenants and builders. Are we embracing the grace and love that God, the owner, is offering? Or are we too trying to take control, rejecting the cornerstone he sent? And that's where the parable leaves us. It's not just a story. It's a question, a really powerful and personal one. When the true owner of the vineyard looks at our lives, at how we've managed everything he's entrusted to us, what is he going to find? Are we going to be the wicked tenants, or are we faithful stewards? The answer to that question, it defines everything.